Okay, just want to welcome everybody to today's webinar. This is going to be webinar number 3 in a series of 5. We're going over basic setup in the LoadTrek database. We're doing some work out of the client desktop app or desktop software and some work out of the web interface. Like I said, today is lesson 3 of 5. Lesson 1 included some setup, some basic database setup of drivers, equipment, and locations. Lesson 2 went over some load building, or I'm sorry, some, let's see, we created a customer or a contract number for postal customers. We made sure our locations were set up for postal compliance, and we also built a trip or a load or a couple of trips that would also be set up for postal compliance. So there's a general postal theme of lesson 2, but it was also some information that was valuable for everybody. Today we're going to be moving into lesson 3, which will include basically it's going to be one topic today. It's going to be rotations, and a rotation could also be referred to as a static project. And what I like to think about these as is we're setting up a repeating project or a repeating job that repeats on a set schedule, whether it's 7, 14, or 28 days, or even a different number. A set schedule, we're going to set it up so that it posts automatically, or so that it dispatches automatically to our drivers or to the hardware. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and we'll be working out of the LoadTrek client today. So the desktop software, the LoadTrek client, is what we're working out of. And if you're not familiar with that, we download that by going to a web browser, either Chrome or Firefox, and by typing in install.loadtrek.net, and you hit enter, and then you'll log in with your company or with your user credentials. You'll log in, and then it'll take you to a link to install. As long as you're at this install page, you'll get to that install link. So log in there, and you can install it if you haven't already. Hopefully most of you have, and you can follow along with me today. You won't be able to follow along in my database, but you'll be able to follow along in your own database. So I'm working out of our test database here at LoadTrek. It's called GPS. I'm logging in as an admin, and I have my own password. So, and when you log into the desktop software, you obviously get just a blank page. We haven't done anything yet since logging in. And then across the top, we've got our different areas or planes that we call them. And across the top, here's some more menu items. So last time we worked out of the S jobs. We built some jobs. And actually, why don't we just go back in as a refresher here. We built some jobs last week. These will be slightly different if you did join us last week. They are slightly different, so I'm using different examples, but it's the same idea. We added a load by adding a load here. We added our load customer from our customer list, and we made sure that everything was compliant or set up for postal compliance. Again, this does apply to other people, so not just postal customers. You may be, you're probably interested in the material here today as well. So now, like you can see over here, I've got 3 loads. I've got 101, 102, and 1000 or 2001. Or I could call these trips is what they are. And for me, if I'm a postal customer, these trips are on my postal schedule plate, and they're usually a repeating schedule, and I can set them up as such according to the drivers. So we're going to use these to build off of our rotation, and then just some information that we'll need from these is the actual frequency of the trip, or when does it go, what days of the week, and any holidays if applicable. And to do that, you're going to use one of these buttons here in the center, and the one that I'm going to use here is show frequency. So it abbreviates it there, but it means show frequency, and that means we're going to view or show the frequency in which this trip travels. So this trip is going Monday through Friday, and it's off on Saturday, Sunday. And then over here in the holiday schedule, it is set to go on every single holiday except for the special day, which I'm not sure what that is, and then Corey's B day. So there's 2 days where it will not run. So if either one of these 2 days fall on a Monday or a Friday, it's not going to run, because if it is a special day, and let's say it's June 1st and June 1st is a Monday, it's gonna tell it to not go because special day is June 1 and it's not checked. Let's say if special day ended up on a Saturday, then we really know it's not going to go. So just keep it, rule of thumb here is something to keep in mind, is that if the box is not checked, the truck will not run. Or if the box is not checked, you will not have that job post for that day. So you're going to set up your holidays every year at the beginning of the year, before the beginning of the year, in setup here under holidays. Okay? And basically it's just self-explanatory. Add a new holiday. What's the holiday name? What's the date? And then, you can go a step further and add the days after, days before, all sorts of things. You can customize that list to accommodate your operations. So just going back to 101, 101 travels on Monday through Friday. And let's see 102 here. We want to see 102 as well because we're building this one into a rotation. And 102 is the same. It's going to go Monday through Friday. And then we've got this last one here, 2001. Typically, you'll probably have another one here, maybe 4 trips. We're just going to use 3 here. No big deal. You could do it either way. But so we're just going to use the 3 trips here. And 2001 only goes on Saturdays and Sundays. So, and then there are some specific holidays that it will run on if they are on Saturday and Sunday. Again, if 4th of July lands on a Saturday or Sunday, it's not going to go because 4th of July is not checked. Same thing with Thanksgiving. Well, Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday. We know it's not going to go. And then, again, with Memorial Day, Mondays, obviously nothing's going to happen there. But day after Christmas, if that's on a Saturday or Sunday, it will be going there, day after Thanksgiving and so on. So I hope you get the idea there. And then we can hide this just by hitting hide frequency. So the first 2 are Monday through Friday. The last one here is a weekend or a Saturday, Sunday. So we'll remember that, and we're going to move over to the S jobs now, so that we're working. And then this is the contract number. We're working with the 12345 Y or WY. So here we go. We're going to go to S projects. And I'm going to give you a quick introduction of the plane here, the projects plane, because it is a little confusing at first, but it's way simpler than it actually seems. So to begin with, we've got the rotation plane, obviously, and the rotation schedule is over here on the right. And then in the button menu here, it's really nice because we're just basically going to move in line straight down, setup, sequence, schema, and then drivers here. We're going to not deal with equipment today. We're mostly dealing with drivers, but equipment is basically the same setup. So once we do this with the drivers, you'll understand how to do it. So like I said, we're going to go from the top down. So we're going to begin with setup. And we are in setup right now. This is the setup of the rotation schedule where we will set up our rotation. And at this point, I don't have a rotation set up for my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 WY. So I'm going to start a new one. So we're going to start here just by adding. We're going to add, and it clears out our fields here. And I'm going to name my rotation. So we're going to name this one, let's see, 1A test. And the reason I did that is just so it'll show up in the top of my list here so it doesn't get lost in all these other ones. So these are actually already built rotations. We could look at these for examples if you wanted, but I'd rather start from the beginning here. So we've got 1A test, and then we just move down the line here, just like we're going to do from on this side. We're going to go top to bottom. We're going top to bottom here. So moving down, we've got the rotation start date. And this is important because we're going to set this on the day that the actual rotation starts. Most of your rotations are going to start either on a Sunday or a Monday. I'll do this one on a Sunday, and I'm going to pick the 18th, because if I were to pick the 25th, nothing would post for the rest of this week. So I actually wanted to post this week, but I do need it to start on a Sunday. So I've chosen the 18th. And my rotation is only going to be a 7-day cycle. So what that means is it's going to start on Sunday the 18th, and then it's going to go through Saturday the 24th, and then it's going to return back around, and then day one again is going to start on the 25th. So day one was the 18th, 7 on the 24th, and then cycles back again to day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So it'll repeat every 7 days. This cycle beginning on Sundays. And then the next part here, route origin and destination. For the most part, ladies and gentlemen, when you're making these rotations, we're going to build them off of the origin and destination. So we want a common origin and destination for each one of these. So for me, for our rotation here, my truck drivers, they get in the truck at LoadTrek, okay? They come here, they get in their truck, they log into the equipment here at LoadTrek, and then they go to their first stop, they go to their second stop, they go to their third stop, and then what they actually do is they come back here to LoadTrek, get out of their truck at the end of the day, and that's where they finish their day and they log off. So we typically build the rotations to coincide with that origin and destination. So if you have one that starts in Memphis and it goes to Chicago, you can have your whatever location in Memphis that they may start at. Maybe it's a hotel or a yard or a post office or something where they get in their truck, and then in Chicago, where are they going to end up at, or where do they end up parking their truck? So think about that, and if you build your rotations based off of the origin and destination, it can greatly help you in organization. So, and then if you have relays where, let's say, where there's somebody meeting in Chicago, but they're coming from Minneapolis, so you've got Memphis and Minneapolis both meeting up in Chicago, and they end in Chicago, well then they just turn around and go back, and we can set those rotations in a similar fashion. So we'll get into some more advanced scenarios later, but for right now we're just working under the assumption that they get in their truck and they get out of their truck at the same place at the beginning and ending of each day. And then if I want this to actually start posting, I need to set it to active. So if it's not set to active, you will not see it posting to any drivers at any time. So active is a must, and then if you want to build in an end date, you can check the end date and select an end date. I'm not going to build in an end date because I can just come in and hit the active check mark and set it to inactive when I don't want to use it, and then back when I do want to use it. So I'm going to keep this one in here. So we've got the setup. We've completed setup. We've got a name. We've got a start date on a Sunday. We've got a 7-day cycle rotation that repeats every 7 days, and the drivers, they leave and return to the LoadTrek office every day with their truck. It is active, and there's no determined end date. So we've got that. What I do is click off here. I just clicked in the white area here, and now what you'll see is on the bottom of the list, our rotation populates. And then if I were to, say, go over to S jobs and and then come back, it'll populate in alphabetical order. So now we have 1A test up at the top. So 1A test, moving on, we've done setup, and now we're going to do sequence. Okay, so None of these trips necessarily overlap. We could work under the assumption that 101 is completed before 102, but in this scenario, it's not really that important. What we're going to be concerned about right now is that this schedule repeats every 7 days, and we can have it automatically post to each driver on the days that it runs. So we've got 101, and in order to get the entire trip over there, we're gonna have to expand it, and then we'll grab the stage number. So there's only one stage in each of these. So stage number, and I pulled it over there. And now what it does here is it gives you a generic name. So what I do is I always switch that name to an identifier. You'll probably have some of your own naming conventions, but I'm just going to do this so I notice what it says there. If you have your own naming conventions, you can stick with those, but this is just for sake of organization. I've got trip 102 here. I expand it, and I grab the stage number, and I drag it over, and I drag it over. Already assigned another. Oh, it looks like this one's already assigned to a rotation, and that's what it says here, D's test. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to go in, I'm going to find D's test, and I can actually do it from right in here. There's that, and then I'll go to set rotation, and look, yeah, sure enough, trip 102 is in that rotation, so I'll go ahead and I'll put it in the trash. And no wonder, looks like this one is also assigned to a rotation. So I'll do that, and if we refresh the tree, trip 102 lost its rotation assignment, and then this one is actually still assigned to another rotation. So I'm going to go in and find Maxway. I'll find that one. Okay, and then I can set rotation, and then I'll just remove it from there. So you saw there in a little glimpse how to get rid of the trip if it's already set in rotation. So I can get rid of this one again. I just click on it, I drag it over to the trash can, and then if I refresh my tree, you'll see here number 101 is still on 1A test like we wanted it, and then 102 lost its rotation assignment, and 2001 also lost both of its rotation assignments. So let's go back to our 1A test. Okay, and we'll go back and set rotation, and as you see there, our trip 101 is already in there. Trip 102, now let's take it and drop it. Drops in sequence. I'm going to do my naming real quick. T102, and then we'll do 2001. And this one actually has 2 stages built into it, but what I'm not too concerned about that right now. I'm actually going to build in both stages to this one, and it'll look a little bit different on the next page, or it'll look you'll see what happens on the next page to this. But so I'm going to do T 2001, and that's stage 1, and then I'll do T 2001 S2. So there's 2 stages in that one. So, and then you'll see on the next page why that's helpful. So we renamed them, and we're going to go ahead and go in, and now we're going to set the rotation schedule. So again, here we've got now we're looking at the jobs tree on the left side here, and then our rotation schedule. So you guys are used to the jobs tree. We worked in that last time, and obviously these 2 buttons will control the jobs tree. So it's the same as navigated in the jobs pane, but then moving down here in the button menu, we've got our setup in our order of operations here. So we've done setup, where we built the 1A test. We've done sequence, where we set the trips in sequence. Let me show you something here real quick. If I take this and I drag it on top of the first one, I can reorder these. So if you are doing this in any sort of order, you can order them in sequence. So, but I'm going to keep 101 up there. So moving on, setup, sequence, and now we go to driver schema, and this is where we're going to place place drivers or place designations in the jobs. This doesn't actually put the driver in the job, and I want to be clear on that. We have to do one more step to assign it to a driver, and that's basically the most important step of this entire thing. But this will actually make a placeholder for the driver to be assigned to. So beginning here with trip 101 is, like you said, we've got our contract number here, we've got our trip number, and then down here we've actually got our contract, our trip, and then our stage identifier number there too. So I wanted you to see that. If you hover over these, you can see the whole name. If I were to write out something longer there, it would have got cut off. So you can hover over it to see the whole name. So going back here, trip 101 is, if we remember correctly, is a Monday through Friday. So it's not going on Sundays, and it's not going on Saturdays. It'll be Monday through Friday. And I know right now that I'm going to have one driver do this trip on Monday through Wednesday, and then I'm going to have another driver do it on Thursday and Friday. So I've got AZ is going to do it. Oh, I'm going to choose AZ. He's going to do the first part of this rotation. So what I need to do here, and it just told me that, what I need to do is I need to select a color for AZ. You do something kind of dark that shows up with a light background, so I'll do a blue. And AZ is going to go in here on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. So that means whoever we use for initials AZ, or whatever driver we place on initials AZ, he's going to get this job. And you know what? AZ also has a couple other trips he does in the at the end of the week. He actually does trip 102 on Thursday and Friday. So he does 101 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then he goes ahead and he does 102 on Thursday and Friday, just as a switch up. No crazy rotation or anything like that. He just does a different trip. And then, let's see, he's got a counterpart, BC, that actually does it, and I'm going to have to pick a color for BC. BC actually does it on the days that AZ doesn't. So we got brown for this guy. We'll go BC, 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 and then he takes 101 on Thursday and Friday. And then again, Saturday and Sunday, nothing's going on this trip. Contrary to 101 and 102, trip 2001, both stages are executed on Sunday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday. So we actually have a different driver that does these on Saturday and Sundays. So I'm going to go ahead and pick EG. EG actually does them. He does it on Sunday. Oops, I need to pick a color for EG. And let's go with some sort of purple here. Okay, so EG does it. He does both segments on Sunday, but he only does one on Saturday. And then, let's see, find somebody else random here. GB actually does one trip in this rotation. He does one trip in this rotation, and that occurs on Saturday. He does stage 2 of trip 2001. So basically all of our designations are set up here. Now what I like to do is I like to create a placeholder for spots where there's not a driver executing a trip. And so what we see here, just to run it down quick, is that these drivers are going to have these trips automatically post to their schedule or to their equipment when they log in. Whatever equipment they log into, it's going to post to that equipment when on that day. So AZ on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will get trip 101 automatically dispatched to the hardware that he logs into. On Thursday and Friday, he'll get trip 102. And vice versa. BC will get trip 102 on Monday through Wednesday, and he'll get trip 101 on Thursday and Friday. Again, this is just very basic rotation set up here, but kind of illustrates some more complex ideas as well. So then what I do here is I've got a bunch of empty spots, and I'll actually choose a placeholder for these so that it's easy to see. What I do, or what we traditionally do, is just replace an X or a double X in here. And this does not assign it to anybody. This is not anybody's initials. This is not the XX is an easy thing to see visually that we're not going to put somebody's initials on there. So, or something, we're not going to assign a driver to it. So we have the placeholders here is all they are. We have to assign the drivers now. So let's go in. We'll find our drivers. And we just go right on down the line, set up sequence, driver schema, and drivers. So we need AZ. So I don't actually have an AZ, so I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to do Mr. Tolkien here. He's going to be our driver AZ. So if I take Tolkien and I drop him on AZ, it says he's also assigned to another rotation. You know what? That's okay because that rotation doesn't interfere with this one at this point. It wouldn't tell you if it did, but this is a warning saying, hey, check on this driver, make sure that he's not, that these schedules aren't conflicting. So you can check out his other rotation if you wanted to go to his name, and you hit this little thing that looks like people. So it looks like now we have him in 1A test, but he's also in the Chicago rotation. So you could go in here and go to the Chicago rotation and find him and take him out of that if you wanted. But we don't need to do that right now. We know that it won't overlap, so that's fine. So Tolkien, his driver number is now taking the place of any AZs. Now let's find a BC. And let's go with Charles Broadway. That's close to BC. It's just backwards. So we'll do Charles Broadway is going to do BC. And look, he's already assigned a rotation too, but that's okay. We can go in and change it if we want. And look, he's assigned to Des Moines. Okay, but he's going to be assigned to 1A test as well. We want to make sure he's not overlapping or anything. And then we've got EG. So let's try to find we'll do Griggs here. And Griggs, it doesn't look like he's got any rotation, so this will be his only job so far. So Griggs takes up EG with his driver number. And then we've got GB. So let's just go with, let's see, we'll go with Hemingway. Okay. Hemingway gets that last one. He's also assigned another rotation. And we'll check which one it is. Okay, so he's in Chicago, Memphis. So he's also in 1A test, and he just does one trip on Saturdays. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a rotation set here. These trips 101, 102, and 2001 are going to post automatically on the days of the week that we have them set for, and they're going to post to the designated drivers. Okay. So that, in a nutshell, is the rotation or S projects application, or I'm sorry, S projects plane in our LoadTrek client software. And after this, you should at least understand how to set up a basic rotation or a repeating schedule for drivers to dispatch automatically. If you guys have any questions about today's discussion, please send your inquiries to support@loadtrek.net, and we'll get back to you and just give you some answers or anything like that. We do have some great training materials. If you guys go to the LoadTrek YouTube channel, we've got some training videos, a great one on rotations, and this one will probably be posted soon as well because there have been some updates since the last one. So. Again, contact support if anything's not functioning properly or if you have some general questions, and we look forward to having you join us in our next webinar. Have a good day.